So today we're going to talk about a wild story involving decades of stolen identity and the poor person who was the victim being put in prison and mental institutions over them continuing to say that I'm who I say I am. It is nuts. Okay. This poor dude went to like jail and went to the mental hospital because somebody he used to work with in the 80s stole his name. So we're going to take a look at this before we get into any further. Please like and subscribe. Also, this is Geeky Sparkles for this video. Kneon is not here. I'm not sure if this is going to be on Substack or if this is going to be on a regular Clownfish video, but either way, you're going to get it one way or the other. I saw this today and I was just like, what the hell? So apparently, back, in the 80s, this guy named William Woods worked with another man. And the other man ended up stealing his name because he got arrested for stealing cars and things. And it went from that to taking over his whole identity to the place that when the man tried to fight it later, he's the one that got accused of identity theft and ended in jail. And he would have continued to be punished for it if one detective hadn't gone through it and looked and actually found the evidence to prove that the other guy was lying. So here's what happened. I'm going to give this to you. This is from Eric W. on X. A man stole William Woods' identity, accused Woods of stealing his, had Woods prosecuted, jailed, and drugged in a mental ward. A dog and detective solved it. It's an above guideline sentence justified. Please, here explains what the craziest facts section yet. So here's what the actual filing is. He's appealing. I guess he's appealing for this. His name was Matthew Kierans. Okay, that's the guy who stole the identity. And apparently he's still trying to appeal on this. But here's what happened. I'm going to read what was listed. So by all appearances, a man who went by the name William Woods had turned his life around. 3 decades ago, he was homeless and worked at a hot dog cart. But then the man got married and had a child. He opened up bank accounts, received credit lines, started working at a hospital where he became the key administrator of critical systems, earned more than $100,000 a year. There was just one problem. Although William Woods was a real person, this man was not that person. Instead, this man's name is Matthew Kierans. I don't know how you say that. I'm assuming it. Kierans met the real Woods in the 80s. Woods was Kierans' coworker at a hot dog cart. From then on, Kierans used Woods' identity in virtually every aspect of his life. He obtained employment, insurance, and social security card, driver's licenses, titles, loans. He even all using Woods' identity. He paid taxes under Woods' identity, and then when he stole a car, authorities issued an arrest warrant in Woods' name. And when he stole another car, authorities arrested and booked him under Woods' name. So he stole this guy's identity, was using it, went and got, probably, I'm guessing, forged paperwork or whatever to say he was that person. So now this poor guy who was innocent has a arrest history under his name, even though he didn't do it, et cetera, et cetera. So Kieran's got married, but his wife didn't know that he wasn't really who he said he was. And their child has Woods' last name because they thought his name was William Woods. So Kieran's obtained a job at the hospital by using fictitious identification documents, all in Woods' name. And while employed at the hospital, he continued obtaining credit union loans using Woods' actual social security number and date of birth. And then Woods intervened. In August 2019, Woods was homeless and transient. He entered a bank branch in California and informed the assistant bank manager that someone using his identity had obtained lines of credit and accumulated a large amount of debt, which is a very fair thing to do. Most of us would probably, immediately go to the police or try to do something. Woods provided a social security card. Numbers matched the social security number associated with Kieran's fraudulent accounts at the bank. However, upon reviewing the accounts information, the assistant bank manager noted that the address associated with the account was not in California, but in Wisconsin, which was the poser's address. And when the branch manager asked Woods security questions, he was unable to answer them. Well, of course he couldn't answer them. He didn't set the questions. If you have someone committing fraud and saying there's somebody that aren't, and they set up an account in your name, they're the ones that provide the security questions. So why would they be able to answer those security questions? Like the fact that the branch manager didn't even think that through, it blows my mind. I would have just called the cops and, got to the bottom of it that way. But, whatever. So then, of course, when the assistant branch manager called the other guy and the number associated with it, the fraud answered. He instructed that no one in California should have access to the bank accounts. And after Kieran's correctly answered the assistant bank manager's security questions because he set them up under a fake ID, this is like Logic 101, the assistant branch manager called the police. Police officer spoke with Kieran's on the phone, and he told them that he didn't give anyone in California access to his bank accounts. And Kieran's then faxed the officer's copy of his fake documents, including a social security card, driver's license, and birth certificate, all stating his name was William Woods. And so it was Woods, not Kieran's, was arrested for identity theft. So you have a guy coming in with a social security card to a bank asking questions, saying there's an account in his name that shouldn't be there. And of course, because he's homeless or transient or whatever, your go-to is he's obviously the one line because the other guy has a bunch of documentation that you haven't verified is real. I mean, there's a lot of fake social security cards out there, just FYI. Kieran told the police that he wished to prosecute. So the thief had the balls, probably because he was scared, to tell the police to then prosecute the guy he knew he stole the identity of, which was, I think, colossally dumb. I mean, I guess on one hand, the police would be like, why aren't you want to prosecute? And on the other hand, you're prosecuting him. It's going to eventually get dug into further and further. And wouldn't you think someone would figure it out at some point? But whatever. So he wished to prosecute for using his identity. The police therefore forwarded the case to the county's prosecutor's office, which charged Woods with felony crimes of identity theft and false impersonation. And at any point in time, did you actually look into the other guy? You should be examining both people. Did you look and see where, because eventually you're going to find that there's like only history of this guy's history only goes back so far. You didn't look into that, did you? Apparently not. Throughout the ensuing state court criminal proceedings, Woods insisted that his name was William Woods, not Matthew Kieran's. And afterwards, public defender and an evaluating physician expressed concerns about, the competency of the real Woods. The state court determined that Woods was not mentally competent to stand trial and ordered to be placed in a mental hospital to receive psychotropic medication. They literally put him in a hospital and put him on drugs because he said he was who he was. While the other guy, who was literally committing felony fraud, got to walk free. So in March 2021, Woods was convicted of felony charges. So now he's got felony charges and automotive theft charges that weren't his. The state court sentenced Woods to time served and ordered that Woods use only his true name, Matthew Kieran's. In total, Woods spent 428 days in jail and 147 days in a mental hospital over him saying that the guy stole his ID and stole who he was. Because that obviously means he's mental. They literally institutionalized him because the other guy who was the thief said that didn't happen. So after his release, it was relief, I'm sure, Woods continued fighting to reclaim his identity, as would anyone, and you want to clear your name of all the charges, the auto theft charges, now the identity theft charges. Kieran's, meanwhile, continued insisting to law enforcement that he was William Woods and that Woods was Matthew Kieran's. So in January 2023, Woods contacted the hospital where Kieran's worked. I'm assuming that's the real Woods and the real Kieran's, informing his security department that Kieran's had stolen his identity. The hospital employee referred Woods' complaint to the local law enforcement, which assigned an experienced detective to investigate the complaint. Gradually, the detective unraveled Kieran's deceptions. Using DNA evidence, I would have thought fingerprints or something else, the detective proved conclusively that Woods, not Kieran's, is a true William Woods. And in July 2023, the detective confronted Kieran's with his evidence. At this point, Kieran's admitted that he had used Woods' identity for several decades, produced false documents, and lied to law enforcement. So that's the story in the appeal, okay, of what happened. They're even like, Wisconsin man stole coworker's identity for 30 years. Sent victim to mental hospital before DNA exonerated him. And they said the federal appeals court upheld the 12-year prison sentence for a Wisconsin man who stole another person's identity for decades. So he's in prison for 12 years. Are you going to put him on psychiatric drugs? Just saying. And then he manipulated the criminal justice system to have his victim jailed and forcefully medicated. You can't make this shit up. This is going to be a movie. You know damn well this is going to be a movie. The U.S. Court of Appeals to the 8th Circuit rejected Matthew David Kieran's challenge to his sentence. According to a ruling filed on Thursday, he argued the 144-month prison term was unreasonable and that special conditions of supervised release were improper. Dude, you fucking stole another person's identity for 30 years. You charged them and made sure they were put in prison and in a psychiatric hospital with medical drugs. Because you said they were lying about that they were like, delusional and thinking they were you. But your 12-year sentence is too harsh. I would argue that's not harsh enough, to be completely honest. He pled guilty in April 2025 to aggravated identity theft and making false statements. The case centers on the accusation that Kieran's theft of William Wood's identity began in the late 80s when the two men worked together at a hot dog cart in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Woods said Kieran stole his wallet in 1988, but returned it after Woods threatened to punch him. But while Kieran's had possession of Woods' wallet, he used the information of Woods' security card to apply for a driver's license as William Woods. Court records show that Kieran's used Woods' identity to build a new life and all that, and worked as an IT administrator. So this says it's a combination image of an undated selfie shows William Woods left, and this undated photo released by the sheriff's courthouse shows Matthew David Kieran's. Yeah, he looks like not happy about it. You can tell. Anyway, court documents indicate that when Woods tried to reclaim his identity in 2019, Kieran's convinced police that Woods was the imposter, and he was arrested and charged with identity theft and false impersonation. So yeah, he said Woods spent 428 days in jail, and we talked about all that. But he got his life back and everything else. My life is over, Kieran said when confronted with DNA results, according to Associated Press. At sentencing, the district court emphasized the unique, unusual, and egregious nature of Kieran's offenses. The court noted that Kieran's intentionally sought the prosecution and incarceration of Woods. Yeah, he went and tried and made sure they put him in jail and in mental hospitals and stuff. And he's mad that his 12-year sentence, he thinks, is not long enough. You had 30 years. You should get at least 30 years in jail for stealing this guy's identity for almost 30 years. Or whatever it was. This is ridiculous. Well, it'd be more than that. It's almost 40 years at this point. In this appeal, Kieran's argued the sentence was too harsh. The three-judge panel found no abuse of this discretion, noting that throughout the 3 decades of living under Woods' identity, Kieran hid his true identity from his wife, gave his child's Woods surname. The court also noted Kieran's history of deceit undercut his claims that he no longer struggles with mental health or substance abuse issues. In 2025, they reported that Woods is back living in Albuquerque, where he was working as a landscaper. At the time, he said he planned to seek compensation for his wrongful incarceration. Yeah, I would think so. His main goal was trying to rebuild his life. Like, you can't make this shit up. This is insane. Downright insane. The amount of balls it takes to triple down and then demand the other guy be arrested is just mind-boggling. And then complain that your 12 years in prison is too rough, too harsh. I just can't even with this one. What do you think? This is insane. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.